Hello friends, myself Professor Vinod Pillai. Welcome to C++ programming session. In today's session, I'll be teaching you what is type conversions and what are the three major types of conversions available in C++. This is one of the questions every time a student would like to ask, or they always feels confusion in what type of conversions are, when to use which type of conversions and all. I'll show you how to identify at what positions you'll identify that you need here a conversion. I'm not talking about a casting one, I'm not talking about typecasting, and I'm not talking about converting a float value to integer downcasting and all. I'm talking about something called a conversion. In C++ there are three major types of conversions available: basic to class to basic, and class to class conversion. When I'm talking about basic, I'm talking about built-in data types. That is, you're having some value as 100, you're having some value as 10.56, or you're having some value as character, and you want to take that value to a class data type. Class means a user-defined data type. A very good example is I'm having a value 100 and I want to store that value into an object of my class, a class A or something like that. So my syntax will go something like this: obj equal to 100. Now this is clearly indicates here, you can see that 100 is an integer value and obj is my own data type, so you can't write like this way. Yes, it is quite possible you can write something like this. If you have a scenario like this, integer rel is equal to 100 and you have another variable integer rel2, and you can write rel2 is equal to rel. This is quite possible because both are of same data type. Now what happens when you write obj is equal to 100? This is not possible. The reason is, in a normal scenario, because 100 is an integer data type, that is a built-in data type, and you want to store that value into a obj, which is my user defined data type. So how it will get an idea what to do and what, because in obj you can have n number of variables, so which variable will have which value and all those things, decision will not be made internally by the compiler. So you have to write the code, then compiler will check that code and will perform accordingly. So it will not act automatically, which is done here in the case of rel2 is equal to rel1. So we clearly understood that if you have any time in a project or in a real life or a program in exams, you have a scenario where it clearly says you want to assign a particular built-in value like 100, 10.56 or some value to an object, you should understand that here we require a conversion of type 1, that is class to basic to class data type. Okay, you want to take the basic value into a class, so here you require a conversion. The second scenario is there's something a reverse case, that is you are having a variable rel, okay, and you want to take value from object to rel. That is the reverse, exactly reverse what we have talked to previous one. We have said a basic to class previous one, and now I'm talking about taking a value from an object to a built-in data type. So I'm having an object of student or class A which is having a number of values of a number of variables, and I want to take that value from obj to rel. Now here also compiler can't perform automatically, it is just common sense that obj is a user defined data type and rel is a built-in data type. So what to perform, how it should be done, that also is not known by compiler, so you have to write necessary code for that, so compiler will act accordingly. So that is the second type of conversion, that is you have some class and an object which is having some value, and you want to take that value from object to a built-in data type. So here also you require a conversion of type class to basic. Okay, now in the third scenario, the first two are quite simple and it is quite easy to understand also, but the third type is class to class conversion. You should remember that I'm not talking about two objects of same class. When I say class to class conversion, a very good example is, it is not quite feasible what I'm telling, but just for understanding purpose I am taking two simple classes, student and employee. Yes, I know there is no relation between student and employee. I've taken these two classes purposefully. The reason is, whenever you want to have class to class conversion, okay, or you decide yes, I require here a class to class conversion, then it is a fundamental rule is that it should not have any inheritance or part of relationship of concept. Okay, that means clearly there should not be any inheritance concept there. Okay, if inheritance is there, then class to class conversion is not required only, basically. So you are having two separate classes like class A and class B, which is not having any relation. Okay, so but still you say I want to do something like that, that I have an object of class A and I have an object of class B, and you say I want to do something like this. Okay, now you can clearly see that yes, it is true there is no built-in involved here, but there are two objects involved, A obj and B obj, and the problem here is that A obj is an object of A class and B obj is object of B class. Okay, so first problem is they are both are of separate class objects. Okay, yes, it is true, if suppose there is an object of A class and another object is of A class, you can simply write this way and it will copy the values. That is not the scenario here. We have two different classes, two objects of different classes, and the problem is that they are not having any relationship. That is, it is not saying I'm inheriting it through publicly through A or something like that. So two different classes, no relationship, and still you want to do a conversion. That clearly says you require the third type of conversion, that is class to class conversion. Okay, so like an example of here I have shown, student object need a value from employee object, so I want to take all employee objects value to student object. Okay, for that also you need to write some necessary code for it. Okay, so we understood that there are three different scenarios where we require a conversions, that is basic to class, that I want to take some built-in data type to a class value, class object, or else I have some object and I want to take the object value to a basic data type. And the third type is I have two different classes, no relationship, still I want to take value from one object of one class to another object of another class. Okay, so that is class to class conversion. Okay, now we understood the scenario where we require which type of conversion. Now comes what to do then. Okay, fine, I have that problem. Now what is the necessary code to do that? For that also there are three scenarios. If you want to do basic to class, okay, that is an integer value assuming to be taken to an object, in that case you have to create a constructor. With the help of constructor, necessary coding is there, I'll show you. With the help of constructor we can solve that problem. The second one is class to basic. Okay, that is we have an object value to be stored into an built-in data type like REL and integer type. In that case you have to perform operator overloading. The third scenario, that is class to class conversion. Okay, so like two different classes, what I've said, in that case you have both options available. Either you can use constructor or you can use operator overloading. It is better not to combine both of them in same class, else it will create problems. So either you use constructor or you use operator overloading. I'll show you both of them, how to use and what are the problems and all those things. Let's get into the examples. It will take much time if I create all the exam in front of you. So I've created the basic one, I'm not included the class to class, and I will show you how to do it. Okay, let's first understand what I've created. Okay, so my first part is quite simple. I have two I have two header files, my namespace. I have included the class A and class B. Fair enough, I don't need this right now, it is not required. Okay, temporarily. Now get into the class. So assume I'm having a class A which is having a variable of REL of type integer. I'm having a default constructor which says REL equal to 0. Time being, just forget this thing, I'll explain you when it comes. So this particular portion, just keep it. I have simple as set method which sets the value of REL, and I have a display method which displays me the value. Okay, yes, time being, just forget this also. Okay, so my class gets end here. Okay, I have another class B, okay, which is having two variables, REL1, REL2. It is also having REL. I am setting the value default constructor, set data and display. So we have seen till now two classes, A with one variable as rel, which is having set and display, and another class B, which is having two variables rel1 rel2, which is also having set and display. Okay, let's get into main method. Okay, so in main method I have created integer result. So a built-in data type is created, which is having a value 100. I have created an object of a class obj. Now I'm saying I want to take result value, that is this value 100, to be stored into obj. Now the problem comes here, I want to have this thing, so I'm saying I want a basic to class conversion. Okay, so automatically it will not be done. So for that, as we have learned here, that for that we have to create constructor. Okay, so how to create constructor and what happens. Okay, let's go into the class A and see what we have to do it for that. So here comes the code which we have skipped previously. I have to create a constructor with one argument. So whatever value I'm passing of result, it will be stored into trl. Okay, as such in my class I'm having only one variable, so I'm saying simply rel is equal to trl. It may be scenario in may not be that the scenario in real life. You may have multiple variables here. Okay, in that case you have to perform some mathematical operations over here, like rel is equal to trl divided by 2 plus 2, then rel xyz, whatever the next variable is there, that also perform some operations on it. You should remember it is not possible to pass multiple values over there. You can always write obj is equal to, like what I have written here, obj is equal to result. So you can pass only one value, so you anyhow you have to perform some operations and you have to do take that values and divide it and give it. So not to make that too complex, I have simply written obj equal result. It goes into the constructor, it gets the value to trl. As I am having simple rel as one variable only, so I am simply writing rel is equal to trl. If I have multiple variables, I may have simple like this, rel2, the next variable name trl plus 100 200 divide by 2, or some whatever the formulas you want to do it. Okay, but you should remember only one value can be passed at a time. Okay, that is simple rule. Now so I've done that. I'm after as such I'm assigning not assigning obj any value, default constructor will be called and will assign rel as 0. After doing this, the result value, that is 100, will be assigned to obj and it will display those value. Let's see it. I comment this code for the time being so that will not be disturbed. Okay, and if you want to see the obj value before assigning the values also, I can show that also. So in default constructor will be called and it will assign the value as 0. Let's see it. Let me compile. So I'll just show you. So if you see, rel initial value is 0. After the conversion, the rel value becomes 100. So obj first it is showing 0, and after the conversion it shows obj as 100. So my basic conversion, that is converting, taking a value, built-in value to an object, is done. So that is basic to class conversion is working, I can say. Okay, now if that is working, let's get into the second one. Okay, so I comment this particular code and I release from here. Okay, so now I want to do a reverse step, that is initially I'm having a result 100. I want to do a reverse step. So what I do, integer result is having 100, obj is not having any value, so I'm setting obj dot set, I'm calling, so it will ask me the values and it will set the value. So obj will have some value, I'll display it. Whatever value I'm storing in obj, I want to reflect that value to result. So that means I want an object value to be taken to a result. So that comes the second conversion, class to basic conversion. After that display the result value. So initially display was 100. If suppose I set obj as 200, then the result should also display me 200. Let's check it up whether it is working or not, then I'll explain how I've done that. Oops, something messy happened, let me see. In the main method expected 105 line. Okay, yeah, I have not cleared the comments, that's the reason. We put the comments back here so that it will not explain. Okay, okay, let's get into again. It's compiled. Okay, it's asking me the value. Now it is asking a value for obj. So if you can see here, I've set obj dot set data. So for this set data, it is asking me the value. I'm saying rel initially result was 200. I'm setting rel as 200. So it will take the value 200 to obj. It will display me the 200 and it will assign the 200 to result, and it should display result as 200. Let's see what happens. So it says that rel is 200, but it says class to class conversion, it says 300. I may have done some operations there. Let's see what I have done it there also. So when I write this thing, that result is equal to obj, that is a class to basic conversion. So rule says you can perform that with the help of operator overloading. Okay, now let's get into the operator overloading. What I have done here, I'm going back to a class. Okay, so here's the code which we have skipped previously. I want to do that. Okay, so first thing, operator is the keyword required, integer is a return type. So whatever value or whatever the destination data type is there, okay, so who is going to receive my values, so the result. And what is the data type of result? That is integer. So here comes, that's why I have kept here integer. Okay, no argument will be there. Integer value equal to 0. So I'm initially taking an integer variable, value is 0. Whatever he has passed, okay, that means the object value. So object is having initially one variable only, so obj is one value, that is rel. I'm combining that with 100. So I have set value as 200. 200 comes here, 200 plus 100, that value is be assigned to a value, and value is returned here, that value is returned to result. I'll repeat once again so you should not get confused. Result is initially having 100, that is not matters here. The data type of integer result is important, that is integer. I'm having an object of a class. I'm setting an a as, I'm setting a value as 200. So 200 is set into obj, but I can say more specifically 200 is set into obj's rel variable. Okay, I can say that way. So if you go here back in the constructor, what I've done is I've set the value as 200. Now come, when I call this thing result is equal to obj, the obj will go automatically call this particular operator. Okay, so operator keyword integer is there, that I have explained. Integer value is a simple variable. I'm telling simple rel. Rel means I'm talking about obj dot rel, because who is calling this operator? Obj is calling. So rel means whose rel? That is obj's rel. Obj dot rel plus 100. I'm doing an operation. So initially I have assigned 200. 200 plus 100. That value will be given to value. I'm returning the value. So who will accept this return value? So if you see the code, I've kept in acceptance. I've kept the result to accept the whatever is returned. So obj will return, that operator will return the 300 value that is assigned to result, and that is being printed as a result. So if you see here, I'm getting a 300 value. So there we have seen how to do a class to basic conversion also. Now let's get into much more details. The third type, that is class to class conversion. For that I do not need all these codes, so I'll comment all of them so that we can concentrate on that particular one only. Okay, now you have to be little more careful performing class to class conversion. Okay, it is little confusing, and it has been confused by many of the textbooks also. They've converted so many things, they have not mentioned it, and they've just simply kept there. So it has not been explained properly, and some misunderstanding has been created for many people. So let's get into clear it what is there. So as per rule, I repeat, for class to conversion you require two classes. So I have a class here, yes, that's there. I have a b class, so that is also there, not a problem. So one condition is over. So they should not have any relationship. Yes, it is true, my b class is not inheriting. So two separate classes. Okay, now you require two objects. So I'll say okay, fine, I'll create two objects. Commented all these codes. I'm saying cout a data. A I'm creating, I'm setting a value a, I'm displaying the value a. I'm setting b's value, I'm displaying the b's value. Let's try first that. I'm compiling. So it's compiled, it's asking me as value. A is having only one variable, so I'm assigning A as 10. B is having two variables. First value I'm assigning 100 and second value is assigning 200. You can see the first value whatever I assigned, it is printing. The second two values what I have assigned, 100 and 200, that is also printing. So it is values being assigned and it is being displayed, so not a problem. Now my requirement is something like this. Okay, that is I want to take the values from one object to another object. Okay, for that I can do multiple options. Okay, like source to destination concept. Okay, now you should always remember the one first who is standing is the destination. Okay, and second one is the your source. Okay, now to do that we have two options. Either we can create constructors or we can create operators. Okay, now both of them are also having one hidden rule also. That is, if you want to use the concept of operator, then the operator should be created in the source class. Okay, so operator should be created in source. And if you want to use operator overloading, I'm sorry, I will written a little mistake. If you're using operator, then the operator should be in the source class. Okay, and if you want to use constructor concept, it should be in the destination class. Okay, so if someone says I want to take this particular object to this particular object, like if someone says employee object value to be taken into student object, okay, you can use any of them. Either you can create constructor, you can create operator. Okay, the important thing is the two options are not always available. Like here I want to create something like this, like someone says you want to do, I want to perform this with the help of operator overloading, then operator should be created in the source class. So source is what? Employee object. So in employee object you have to do the operator overloading. Someone says no, I don't want to use operator overloading, I want to use constructor, then constructor should be created in the destination class. So destination is the student class, so you have to create constructor in the student class. Okay, I hope so you have understood. If you want, I can just repeat it once again. Class to class conversion, two options: constructor, operator overloading. Both are having rules that constructor can only be created in destination, operator overloading can only be created in the source. The one which is standing at the front, that is who is giving the values, that is from where we are taking to there. So emp is the object we are taking in the front, so this becomes the source, and student object is going to get the value finally, he becomes the destination. So if someone says I want to use operator overloading, then for this type of conversion, operator overloading should be created in the source class, that is in the employee class. Someone says no, I don't want to use operator overloading, I want to use constructor concept, then the constructor should be created in the destination class, that is student class. So that is what the rule fundamentally says. Now there is a hidden problem here. Whenever you do this operation, okay, the source to destination, destination to store, whatever you want to do, you should remember that wherever you want to apply, whether you want to apply constructor or you want to apply operator overloading, okay, that class should be at the second one. That is, I can do all the operation constructor, operator, or any of them, both of them, any of them to class B. I can't apply any of them with class A, because as such class A is before the class B. You try to apply it, you will get an error. Okay, you can try it, then you can understand what I want to say it also. I'll show you now what I want to do it. The first concept, what I'm doing here is I will do all the operation with class B, because class A I can't do that operation. Okay, so first and foremost, class A says class B is my friend class. This concept is just simply used because I can access the variable directly in the class B. Okay, so let's get into the code now. If suppose I say I want to do something like this, this one. So here if you see bobj equal to aobj and bobj dot equal to display. So here what I have done is aobj is my source, okay, and bobj is my destination, and I say bobj dot display. Okay, so first thing I am using the concept of constructor. Okay, so if you remember, constructor should be created in the destination class, and who is my destination? Bobj is finally going to get it. So source is A, destination is here, so constructor should be created in the destination class, that is in the B class. So I'm going back to B class and I'm creating a constructor here. So after the default constructor I'm saying this. Okay, so how it sits here, just I'll show you. A and B, two classes. I want to use a constructor. Constructor should be created in the destination class. You check it here. Constructor in the B class. Okay, let's go into the see whether it is destination or not. A is the source. Okay, so it wants to take to class to BOBJ. So BOBJ becomes my destination. Destination should have the constructor. So I've created the constructor A object. So I'm saying BOBJ dot display. If you remember, BOBJ is having two variables now. That is another problem. Okay, and I'm setting the values. Now I want to have AOBJ is having single variable. So what I've done it, simply for that, whatever value I'm passing, A's object will be copied to TOBJ. Okay, I'm simply saying I'm having two variables, so I have to get anyhow I have to do some formula and take the values to my variables. So REL1 I'm saying, if the TOBJ, that is A class objects, whatever value you're having, divide by 2. Suppose A is having 100, divide by 2, assign the first value, that is 50, assign 50 to REL1 and assigning the remaining 50 to REL2. So basically I'm just dividing those values. You can apply any of the formulas, because I have to apply this formula because I'm having two variables and it is having only single variable. So A is having only single variable, B is having two variables, so I've applied this particular formula. Let's get into the see what happens. So after that it should display obj.display. Now the display should show, if suppose A is having 100, now it should show 50-50 in the BOBJ also. Let's try whether it's compiling or not. Compiled it, it's compiling. Let's clear it first so you can. It is asking me A's value. I'm giving him 100, so it says yes, A is been assigned 100. Okay, now B I'm assigning some different value. Initially I'm assigning 200 and 300, so it says yes, 200 and 300 was assigned, but then it done the conversion. After conversion, REL1 and REL2 becomes 50 and 50. The display is showing like that, REL, because I have not changed here the displays one. That is just a cout mistake. So 50 is assigned to first REL1 and 50 is assigned to REL2. So my conversion is successfully working. So if you see here, two classes, both of have no relationship, but still I am able to convert because I have created the constructor in my destination class. Now I say, okay, then show me how you can do the same task with the help of operator. Okay, for that I have to do this much task. Okay, I want to do, for that I'm taking, now to perform an operator, I'll comment this particular code time being. I'm writing something less, because in operator, what is my rule says, operator overloading says you can create operator overloading only in source class. Okay, now as I've said, like I can do all the operations, operator or constructor, whatever it may be, in the bottom class. I can't do that operation in A class because A is at the top of B. Okay, so A can't do any operations. So what I've done it, for that I reverse the concept, that is A becomes your destination and BOBJ becomes your source. So again B becomes your source, so I can create the operator in the source, so I can finally do the object, I can do operator overloading in the B class, because B becomes here the source. I've just reversed it here, you should not get confused here, because to show this constructor concept I've done this thing way. Okay, to show this one I'm doing this way. Okay, so in my case now becomes BOBJ becomes my source, so I can put the operator overloading concept in the B class. How to do that I'll explain you. Let's get into the B class. I've get into the B class. I'm saying I'm pasting this code, and timing I'm commenting this particular code. not required, but you just not to confuse you. But okay, now in operator overloading, what I have to do, I have to mention operator, I have to mention the return type, or who is going to accept it. So A is going to accept it, so operator, the here instead of any equal to plus, I have to mention the data type of it. So I'm mentioning A. I have to create a temporary object of A class. Now A is having only one variable and B is having two variables. So what I want to have, whatever obj1's value is, B obj is having value, I want to assign into A's object. So I have simply applied my formula, that is tobj dot rel is equal to rel1 plus rel2. Okay, so whatever B obj's value having, rel1 and 2 will be combined into rel and it will be returned to tobj, that is returned by tobj. Tobj will be accepted by AOBJ and AOBJ will be displayed. Assume that if suppose AOBJ is having 100, BOBJ is having 200 and 300, because it's having two variables. So in AOBJ set it's having single variable, so I am assigning 100, so it will display 100 only. But in set BOBJ is having as such is two variables, so I am saying suppose 200 and 300. So in display also it will show me 200 and 300, that will not be any change. But after doing this, what will happen, 200 and 300 will be combined and will be assigned to AOBJ, and AOBJ's RL will display now 500. Sorry, 500. This is what my expectations are. Let's see what it is, whether it is happening or not. Cleared it, compile it, compiling. It's asking me REL. I'm assigning REL as 100. It says yes, REL has been assigned 100 and it's just been displayed. Now B is asking, I'm assigning 200. REL2 for B, I'm assigning 300. So it says yes, REL is been assigned. But now when I say REL, that is I'm calling again AOBJ as display, instead of 100 it is displaying 500, because according to the conversion test done it. I repeat the last one. When I call this way, BOBJ, AOBJ is equal to BOBJ. Okay, so source becomes B class. So I have to create the operator in the B class. So I've created the B class operator here. Okay, that's done. So what will happen and how it will happen? As such, BOBJ is calling, so it will automatically will be called. So BOBJ will be object will be passed directly. Okay, so who is accepting? AOBJ is accepting of A class, so I'm saying operator A class. Okay, so because that is the data type of AOBJ, I'm creating a temporary object. Remember, you have not to specify any return type or anything like that here. Okay, so AOBJ is the, I'm creating a temporary object. I'm assigning REL is equal to REL1 plus REL2. Who's REL1 and REL2? BOBJ is REL1 and REL2. This will automatically be done because it is simple operator overloading. So OBJ1's REL1 or BOBJ's REL1 and BOBJ's REL2 value will be taken, it will be combined, it will store into REL and returned by TOBJ, that will be accepted by my AOBJ object and it will display it. Okay, just remember this one more important point. I'm able to access TOBJ REL directly, even though REL is a private variable. The reason is this is because I have written one statement at the bottom, that is friend class B. So A is saying B is my friend, so A wants B to access my all his private variables without any problem. So by this statement I'm doing all those things, so you not be confused. Okay, I just repeat, you can do operator, you can do constructor, whatever source destination, the rules will be same. Always remember, all can be done at the bottom class. At the topper class it can't be performed, it will give you an error. Okay, so class to class conversion, you should remember that rule. I hope so I have able to clear most of the confusions what students are generally having. Okay, and able to clear what are the type conversion and when to need which one. In this session we have seen the type conversion, three major types of it: basic to class to basic, and class to class. For further queries you can just send me an email at vinodthebest@gmail.com, or else you can post comments. Thank you and have a nice day.